Hi, I'm Anne Raboski.
And I'm Sophia McCool, and today we're going to be giving you all an overview of the FAFSA process.
All right, so FAFSA. FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. FAFSA is a form filled out for future and prospective college students to determine their eligibility for student financial aid. Many states and colleges use the FAFSA to determine eligibility for grants and merit aid awards beyond just the federal level. Filing the form is also necessary to take out federal student loans, which have benefits typically not associated with private loans, such as fixed interest rates or more flexible repayment plans.
So how does the FAFSA work? The financial aid office at your college will use the FAFSA to determine how much financial aid you are eligible to receive. The office calculates financial aid by subtracting your expected family contribution, or your EFC, from the total cost of attendance, which is also referred to as COA.
All right, so how to apply. So the first thing you're going to have to do is create FSA ID, which is basically just your username in order to fill out the form. And with that, you'll be able to fill it through the FAFSA app, and it also requires tax information. In addition, say you're a four-year college student, you're going to be having to fill out the FAFSA every year.
So a little bit more about your FSA ID. This is a username and password that allows you to access certain Department of Education websites, including the FAFSA application that can be found on FAFSA.gov. It's also required if you plan to sign your financial aid documents electronically. Both the student and the parent will need to create their own FSA ID, and you want to do this early in order to delay, or not to delay, the process.
All right, so some dates that you should know. So October 1st, this is when FAFSA opens. It's really a good idea just to get it out of the way as soon as it opens, whether it's getting done that day or a few days after, but just really try and get it done the sooner the better. March 1st is Michigan's priority deadline. Apply by the state in order to be considered for more aid. Most states and schools set their own dates, so really be aware of whatever school you're attending or even looking at, just that you're abiding by the rules and dates. And then June 30th is the deadline to apply.
So what is needed when you apply for the FAFSA? So we recommend just having all this stuff on the side, just all together when you're applying, just to help speed up the process. So you want to make sure you have your social security number, your driver's license if applicable, your alien registration number if that's applicable, your 2019 federal income tax return, W-2s, or other records of money earned. Something to keep in mind is whatever year you're filling out your FAFSA, you're going to want to have the prior year's tax information on hand, bank statements and records of investments if applicable, records of untaxed income if applicable, and your FAFSA ID.
All right, so dependency status. So dependency status determines whose information you're going to have to use to report on the FAFSA. If you're a dependent, you'll report your information and your parents' information. If you're an independent, you will report your own information. And if you're married, you also do your spouse's. So there's a few different ways that you can qualify for the dependency status. So will you be 24 or older by January 1st of the school year for which you'll be applying? Are you married or separated but not divorced? Will you be working towards a master's or a doctorate degree? And there's a variety of down there, but it's important just to keep in mind if you meet that or not.
So your student aid report or your SAR. So a SAR is an electronic or paper document that summarizes the information that you reported on your FAFSA form. It's going to include your EFC, your expected family contribution, your estimated eligibility for the financial student aid loans and federal Pell Grants, and whether you've been selected for verification if not or not. Verification is a process where a school may want more information from you, so they'll select you for that process to get that. Once you receive your SAR, it is important that you review it carefully to make sure all the information on there is correct. A school may also ask you to verify the accuracy of your FAFSA data, so you must make sure this information is correct while you're filling out the application initially in order to avoid this delay. If the information is correct, you will need to correct and update your FAFSA form, and you can do that by logging on to the FAFSA website, logging in with your FSA ID, and then there's a little button that's going to say make corrections on your FAFSA. You're going to want to click that and make those corrections there.
All right, so financial aid award letter. So this letter details how much financial aid the school is going to offer you. Types of aid include grants, scholarships, work study, and loans. On the right is just kind of an example of what that might look like.
So there's a variety of different things that a student loan can cover. So your tuition, books and supplies, room and board, so your meal plan in your dorm room, off-campus housing, transportation, gas or bus passes. You cannot buy a car with this money though. Computers, any equipment you may need for classes, and these can also cover study abroad programs.
All right, so loans and interest explained. So a loan is money you borrow that you must pay back with interest. And then interest is a loan expense charge for the use of the borrowed money. So interest comes in different rates. Again, on the right, you can see the different types of loans. It's really important to be aware of what rates come with because some definitely impact how much you are taking out in the end.
So federal loans versus private loans. So federal student loans are made by the government with terms and conditions that are set by law. So these are the loans you'll get if you fill out the FAFSA application. Private loans are made by private organizations such as banks, credit unions, and state-based or state-affiliated organizations. And these have terms and conditions that are set by the lender. So it's important when you're considering taking out a loan to go over these terms and conditions just to make sure you're not penalized.
All right, so types of federal student loans. So there's going to be direct subsidized loans, direct unsubsidized loans, direct plus loans, and direct consolidation loans.
So how much money can you borrow? This is going to depend on if you're an undergraduate student, a graduate student, or a parent. The maximum amount an undergraduate can borrow each year in direct subsidized and direct unsubsidized loans is going to range from about $5,500 to $12,500. This is also going to depend on what year you are in school and your dependency status. If you're a dependent undergraduate student, your parent can receive a direct plus loan for the remainder of your college costs as determined by your school and not covered by any other of your financial aid.
All right, so paying off your loans. So repayment begins once you graduate, drop below half-time enrollment or if you leave school. Direct subsidized, direct unsubsidized, or federal family education loans have a 6-month grace period before you're required to make a payment. Completing the exit counseling form before you graduate is required. This explains your loan repayment responsibilities and when payment begins. There are several repayment plans to choose from, including plans that base your payment amount on your income. The amount you pay and the length of time that you have to repay your loans will vary depending on the repayment plan you choose.
Some considerations to make when you are taking out loans. Federal student loans are an investment in your future, so don't be afraid to take out the loan, but you do want to be smart about it. So we recommend for students to maybe look at the median salary for the career that they want to go for and build a budget from there and see how much you can afford to pay back in loans. Also remember that you can borrow less than your school offers, and you can also request more loan funds later if needed. You can just call the financial aid office and figure out what your options are. So you only need to borrow what you need. Thank you guys for listening to our presentation. If you guys need any help with FAFSA, the application process, or just have any questions or get stuck, feel free to contact either of us using our emails on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you.